Hello and welcome everybody to day 4 of the Rise of the Rebel Matriarch Leadership Summit. And it is the day of the wise woman. And my God, do I have some incredible wise women here with me today, sharing the space and the mic so that we can talk about all things aging and saging and perimenopause and how it is not the end like society would have us believe, but it is actually only the beginning. So I'm very excited to, delve into this conversation because obviously I'm not a perimenopausal woman quite yet. I'm still in the mother summer season of my life, but I'm really, really interested, as is a rite of passage. It is a rite of passage that I guess society has stolen from us because they don't want us women in our power, connected to our intuition, living with a vision. And society over the eons has disconnected us from the truth of who we are. So I'm very excited to jump into that, but I would like to introduce my beautiful guests here today who have joined me from all corners of the globe. And Lila is one of the most incredible grandmother medicine and matriarchal medicine carriers that I know, and I'm blessed to know. And it's such an honor to have her here holding space and holding the drum with us for our becoming. So Lila Mahalakshmi Grace, as she is so beautifully known, is an insight counselor, a doula, teacher, speaker, astrologer, poet, founder of community schools, meditation and meditation programs, and hosting satsang retreat celebrations and sacred pilgrimages on the songlines of the Mother Earth. Guided by the wisdom of the masters and indigenous elders, this life work is dedicated to facilitating the revelation of the peace in the core of all beings. So it's beautiful to have you here, Lila. Thank you so much for finding the time to be with us today. And I'm very excited to share your wisdom with our rebel matriarchs who are watching.
It's a delight, my darling. It's an absolute delight. I get goosebumps in both legs, not just the intuitive side, but you're on course. But as I said, in this time and place and play, it's so essential for the sacred feminine to arise. It's not just that if we doubted the old wisdom carriers like the Dalai Lama, who said, peace is in the hands of the wise Western women. At a conference when I was in India in 2008 called Making Way for the Feminine for the Benefit of the World Community. And we gathered several hundred leaders, social, political, spiritual, whatever, coming together to see that we could honor the space of who we be in the planetary play. And there's some very interesting things. He said, first of all, he came in on Skype at this place in India, Jaipur, where the man-woman ratio is 79%, 79 women to every 100, 79 men, 79 women to every 100 men. So it's at this time and place on the planet where not just physically, but personally, the feminine wisdom has been subjugated. At this time, astrologically as well, it's really well supported. As they say in Star Wars, the force is with you. To arise, rise up, human heart, you are a bright star. And for those who haven't had a voice, who've been property settlements, who, to reckon in their history that we've come from this place where property settlements, where rape was not considered a crime if it was your husband in 9 states in America in 1973. So think of it that we're coming through our wisdom, through our wounds, through our mothers, which I wish to acknowledge now. I'm a daughter of Mary Dorothy, granddaughter of Mary, and of Lily and Grace. In this time and place and play, I honor all those that have, in their own compassionate way, curated the possibility that we could come into a life of love and freedom.
I love that. Yes, honoring all of the beautiful ancient matriarchs who have came before us, all of the wombs that have housed us since time immemorial to be here standing today. I read a quote that it's like, it's more than 3,000 ancestors that are behind us, people that have lived and loved and lost and fought for the freedoms that we have today, to be able to stand here holding the torch for the feminine to rise again like she used to be in matriarchal, matrifocal societies, you know, where women and children and life and the earth came first over everything else. So yeah, it's such an honor to hear you speak. You know, I know you've been in very many circles over the course of your life, and you know, you've accumulated a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge that you are so generous in sharing. And I was thinking about the subject today, you know, perimenopause, and how it is a rite of passage. It is a season of our lives that, you know, we really get to reap. You know, it's like a harvest time. Obviously, when we're in the maiden, we're in our spring, you know, we are blossoming, we are blooming, or we are, you know, our seeds are planted. And then we go into our mother season, and we are very much like creating, you know, creating life, creating businesses, creating visions and ideas and gardens and cooking and whatever it is that we create. But when we move into the perimenopausal, like the MAGA stage, which is what they call it now, that, you know, our life expectancy has extended. So it's no longer just the maiden, the mother, and the crone. The MAGA is now a new it's a new kind of season that's been brought in, which is the autumn. It's the harvest. It's the, you know, reaping what we've sowed and then sharing it with others. And that's a beautiful place to be. And when you can actually accept that time in your life, instead of thinking, oh shit, it's all over, and accept this time as being the autumn where you get to reap everything you've sown, it kind of reframes and changes, I guess, the idea around it, that, you know, it's time to die now.
Yeah.
And once you're not fertile anymore, you're no use to society, because that's not true.
Yes, and interesting you should mention the mother, because if you look at it 50 years ago, or if you look at it maybe 500 years ago, the life expectancy was just up to 40, you know, 50. So you went maiden, mother, you know, maiden, mother, and then you finished your bleeding, you're almost dead. But the thing is, we've extended it so much. And one of the most deepest understandings for that, for me, of the essence of the beauty of it, was through a beautiful man, a lover, Indigenous heritage, that who was younger than me, like about 13, 14 years younger than me. And I was end of perimenopause, almost menopausal. You know, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Nothing much has happened for for quite a few months. We'll see what we can do. And he sang to me and loved in a way of respect, first of all. And when we wake up in the morning, I'm looking at his body, which is golden brown. I'm looking at my lapsed Irish Catholic effect of skin getting wrinkled. And I started, feeling my age. He wakes up and feels it. What are you pulling away from me for? We had a night of union. I said, I'm feeling my age. He went, eh? In my culture, it's an honor that you, the older woman, have me, the younger man. You're my teacher of love. At which point, I started crying. You're my teacher of love. And I felt it all over. And the tears there, and in that space, and he just goes to my feet and sings in language. And the honoring was so amazing, and the timelessness, the presence. Honor as I released all those self-concepts of me. And over the next few weeks, understood things. People who have a problem with menopause and all the symptoms and all that sort of thing, usually in the youth cultures. Whereas those that honor age, Tibetan, Chinese, Indigenous, it's not such a big deal in the physical. It's like everything's shifting in you. And when we really take that into heart, you become the essence of a teacher of love. And you also become true to love. When at one time we had this conference on menopause and they were talking all the problems, I went, has anyone said the gifts? Yes, you're selected. You have, particularly if you've taken Crohn's year away, 13 moons, no bleeding, or as they say in the American Indian tradition, 49, 7 sevens, or 13 moons, no bleeding. Go into yourself, go into your cave, dig down deep in you. You're no longer doing your sexuality down and out producing. It's going up and in to create the well of wisdom. In this one, I mean, that's so beautiful to live it. But in this place, I said also what my discovery was, what's this thing about dry vagina? Yes, a lot of the time it was. And I wasn't hot to trot or the urge to merge halfway through your cycle. You know, it was much more selective. But within it, in that time, when true love was there, everything flowed and worked and juiced up just like it's meant to. It was almost like instead of doing the casual whenever sort of spaces using your body, it was true to love. And once again, less frequent sexuality because we didn't need all that huffing and puffing and getting to the relationship and whatever. There was so much more merging and tantric arising. It's like that's practical, but that counts because it touches you into your wellspring, which we have. And in this time, if we look at the temple body and then we look at the self-honoring, it opens the door to actually realizing the source of love is within. And so we're less tempted by the images and the things. And another thing I've noted, and that people have noted in me, I'm doing it more laughingly now, it's like you don't care about the image so much. You don't care about other people, what they think about your opinions. It's like, this feels true. So in some ways, if we look at it, it's coming home to being more true to yourself, true to love. And the wise women is being that. And we've been traveling so long, we've been traveling so wide, we've been traveling these lifetimes to find this way home. Home is where the heart is, truth is in the living, love is in the giving, who I am now.
Yeah, beautiful. I absolutely love that. Yeah, so gorgeous. And it's so true, you know, these are the times and this is what the world needs now. Women in their MAGA, in their autumn, in their power, remembering their sovereignty, remembering their connection to nature, you know, remembering who they are beyond the lies and taking ownership of their lives. And this is the power that we have when we embrace it as a rite of passage, rather than trying to push it away or shut it down or cut off to ourselves from it through, you know, whatever it is that the doctors will diagnose us with or prescribe us with to get through it. So I would love to ask Únagh, who is here with us today as well from New Zealand. And Únagh is came up with the idea for this, you know, roundtable. She really wanted to explore it because she's in her power with it. And I just want to introduce Únagh de Brún, who is a dear Irish Celtic sister of mine, and read her bio for you all to get to know her a little bit deeper. Únagh moved from a corporate background to a master chocolatier. Únagh de Brún has changed her life many times over until she turned 50 and stepped alone into her vision and is now fully living her true mission and purpose. Únagh has made her vision a reality through what she calls a feminine flow in business. Únagh de Brún is the founder of the Cacao Ambassador, co-founder of Weave Cacao, and founding trustee of Cacao's charitable trust. Únagh works tirelessly in the Pacific, leading the way for Pacific cacao farmers to have thriving lives through cacao, whilst elevating how having cacao daily in anyone's life can support those with low-level depression, anxiety, and so much more. Únagh is on a mission to bring balance back to a sacred food that is currently a commodity on the world stock market, loved as a commercial food, chocolate, and where sadly most cacao farmers worldwide live in poverty. Únagh's focus is on the Pacific and leading the way through the change within the Pacific. Under Únagh's leadership, the Cacao Ambassador educates on cacao on every level, works tirelessly on the ground in the Pacific with cacao farming communities, creates unique Indigenous blends with cacao, and holds remote cacao adventures and retreats deep in the heart of the Solomon Islands. Wow, what a beautiful mission and vision that you have, that I know there's a huge story behind finally taking ownership of that, you know, and listening to the inner whispers and taking courageous action to be able to show up in service to cacao, to the goddess, and to the world in this way. So welcome, Únagh. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Saoirse. And what an honor it is to be here and to follow my gorgeous crone sisters is no small thing. I think, for me, it's to make it even a bit more personal, because if I could offer to any woman, and Saoirse, you said, perimenopause isn't yet the stage you're in, but for any woman in her late 30s, early 40s, and for a woman entering her 50s, for her to know that her most magnificent phase is still to come. Like, if I could offer that out, gift that out, for women to know that the most exciting, warm, amazing phase has yet to come. Because I'm a mother of 3 beautiful beings, and I ran a business, as a super mom, worn out, exhausted. In my 30s and 40s, I had a mental breakdown through being in 2 earthquakes and many other things happening in my life. And so, 30s and 40s were a tough time, but I didn't know it. I just was in it, just in it, living it. And as we start to enter perimenopause and the universe, our bodies, everything is designed to start helping us start to think differently, start to pull back from being in life, like so in it that we don't even have much space to think or reflect. And in that process, we start to question. And that questioning can then lead to depression. Like, what's next? Who am I? What's this life about? It doesn't make sense anymore. My children are growing up. Who am I? What, they are all incredible fuel, as well as everything happening in our body, where actually we're taken out of control. And it's all part of the divine, powerful plan to help women transition into no longer being a puppet to the world and to the rules of society, to the rules of being a mother, to being the rules of being a superwoman, to actually being her own magnificent power. And our body helps us in the change. The hormone changes, the fire of hot flushes of women experience that. It's all about the fire of change, letting go, surrendering, listening from a different place. And wow, are we magnificent in that fire. Everything you read out has happened for me in my life in the last 3 years. But it happened because of my journey to that point, in terms of the bigness of life experience that becomes, no matter what they're like, they become our jewels. Become our jewels to turn into absolute gold and truly, truly live the most powerful time of woman, which of course, like you both said, it's
Sorry about that.
okay.
I muted you by accident.
Society wants to stifle woman in this phase because that's when she is most powerful. That's when she truly, and I'm going to use the word, doesn't give a fuck. Because she's no longer plugged in. She's no longer having to play the rules. If she dares, she can truly return into finding her own voice, her own power, without the rules, without the pressures, and without the shuts. And that in itself is a journey of going in. The body helps, the hormones change, the mind works differently. So many things change that take her out of control. And that transition out of control can be terrifying because we're so used to controlling, being in control, timelines, work, all of the things that we endeavor to show up for, be great at, creates a structure of control. Our body takes us out of control. And that helps us undo the false rules so we can start really opening up our goldenness. And, I endeavor to use the word perimenopause, menopause, and I watch people's discomfort because so few people, use the word. I'm like, oh, I'm perimenopausal, I'm feeling that. And you see people like, oh, so few people use the words, yet it's woman's way of saying, I'm entering my power. I'm entering my phase when I am going to be my most magnificent version, and I'm putting down the rules and I'm turning into my own heart. As Lila said, when the energy no longer is given to creation every month. It returns into her heart and her power and her voice. And that's unique for every woman and how that actually shows up. And I read this incredible book once, and it was talking about how in the, like the, as you call it, the, summer phase of life, where we play the role of a particular goddess. But as we enter the matriarchal phase, the crone phase, that goddess turns into her wise woman version. And that is unique for every woman and how that expresses itself. For me, I was very much Athena. I showed up in the masculine way, was the warrior for the patriarchal world for a lot of my life. And now I'm turning into very much what Matisse, which is very much doing what my heart, my passion, my knowing shows, which is nothing that's been seen in the world. But it's a journey, it's a crossing over. And it's just for as many women as possible to know that this is the rite of passage. This is the invitation. And it is a crossing over that can take a number of years. But if she knows what it's really about, she can stay in it. She can stay in the fire. She doesn't have to medicate, like to accept the hormones are going crazy, to accept the hot flushes as a rite of passage. It softens because we're not creating a resistance or a fear, which actually amplifies the body, because the body's like, all right, I'm going to have to amp this up. She's not listening. I need her attention. I need her to look in. She's not listening. I'm going to ramp it up. I'm going to make her brain foggy. This is her time to listen and transition into her golden era. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And that's it. I heard someone say that it's the mother of all awakenings, It's like it's going to bring up everything that has been unhealed through all the other rites of passage that you've been through. Because as we all know, or maybe we don't, but what Jane Hardwick Collins and many of the mentors I've had in the rite of passage space, it's like one leads on to the other, onto the other. So if you've had a menarche, and had a first bleed, which many of us have, growing up in Catholic countries where it's shut down, where you're told to switch off from it, where you're told to, hide it, then that kind of teaches you what the culture kind of expects from you. And then you move through childbirth, and that's another rite of passage that again has been, really shamed us and taken our power away from us. So then when we reach menopause, we are not in the Western world, because we're not taught by our elders that this is a time where we get to really, actually take the rite of passage as an invitation for a deepening into who we really are. And I love that. And I think one of the best things that I've heard is that, the best way to prepare for your menopause, your perimenopause or menopause, is to just look at, the other rites of passage you've had in your life, which is what we do in the Rebel Mad Journey and the retreats that we go on, and to really look at those rite of passages and to reclaim them and to find, the gold in them, to be able to reframe them, I guess, and use and find ways to repair the rite of passage that might have been robbed from us, and move forward with more power and more love, because it's never impossible to do that too. And in researching this, I did learn that perimenopause is, that's the process of in and around menopause. And it's the time around menopause. And then the menopause itself is actually that last bleed. It's just the last bleed, apparently. But you never know when that's going to come. And then the whole process can take up to 13 years, I've heard. Where, like, it could take 2 years before you're actually told, like, you're a menopausal woman now, post-menopausal. But the whole portal is open for that length of time, So it's a really big time and chunk in our lives to be not taking ownership, not allowing it to be part of our evolution, and pushing it away and resisting it. So much time wasted in not letting go, as you say, and just allowing it to move us and to have the experience we need to in order to become the woman that is being asked of us. So I love that. what you said, honey. It's just so potent and powerful. Yeah. And it is an invitation, isn't it, for every woman to awaken to more of her true power. Beautiful. And what we might move over to Sheila Marshall, another one of our beautiful co-authors in the Rebel Ma Rising, Healing in the Time of the Feminine book. And I will let you all in on a little bit of who Sheila is before we do move on. Sheila is an entrepreneur and author, a chartered accountant working in her own practice. She has spent the last 10 years helping people in debt negotiate with their creditors so that they could save their family home and obtain debt arrangements to allow them to move forward in life. Prior to that, she provided business and accounting services to a wide range of businesses in the UK. She has seen firsthand the financial stress that people experience and the knock-on impact of that on their lives. She's passionate about helping women moving through divorce to transform their lives and finances. She helps them to deal with issues like the lack of financial literacy, negative self-talk, that you are no good with money, and so that they can discover their self-worth and develop a positive relationship with money. She offers one-to-one coaching and workshops to help women prepare for divorce and gain financial clarity so they are empowered to negotiate their best future. And what important work that is, my love. And I know that it has come from years of, navigating your own big life transitions. And I did see another quote that said 60% of divorces happen for post or perimenopausal, menopausal women. And it's mostly initiated by the women. So it just shows that, women are kind of waking up. What the fuck have I been putting up with all this time? Who is this guy? And making moves to get out of it because they know that this is not what life is all about. So I'm excited to hand the mic over to you, Sheila, and hear a little bit about your story of the perimenopausal journey and how you use it as a tool to awaken you and deepen you into your own power and truth.
Thank you so much, and what a joy it is to be here with the three of you this morning. And for myself, I'm proud that I'm here speaking with you and that I said yes to all of these invites, because we got to show up, and it's by these discussions. There's such power, Saoirse, and so well done to you for the whole week and leaning into this fabulous summit. So where can I start really? Look, for me, it's all about, we as women, we have to conform so much and we're labeled so much throughout our lives. And it's only as I have entered this phase of my life, since basically mid-40s to now, that all those questions that Únagh said, we get this implosion basically, because what we've been doing. And suddenly we get a little bit of space to be. And it's frightening because our life, it's like we're living in this skin, but we're questioning so many things in our 30s, particularly, I think, when childbirth happens, but we haven't the time and space to really go deep. So something happens in our life, or we have an accumulation of experiences then, in relationships, in our work environment, in our families, and we wonder where we're fitting into it. Who's turning up? Is it Sheila who's conforming with her husband's needs? Is it Sheila who's conforming with her children's needs? And we get exhausted from it. And the menopause is a time to slow down. And like, in a way, period is a time to slow down when we get our first period, but are we told to slow down? I read recently that in Spain now, they're giving time off to women during their cycle. What a beautiful thing to acknowledge that. How many times did we turn up for things where we were totally wiped out, for exams, for sporting events, and we couldn't even say it to anybody? I've read that I think it's the English football team have now allowed girls to wear navy shorts rather than white shorts. I mean, we're in 2024. I was like, imagine how much dictating we've been, even about what we wear. And it's because every bit of those cycles were associated with some sort of shame or something we should hide away because we were women. rather than shine. And the menopause just allows us to shine. And like, it's so beautiful for all of us here that the menopause has been spoken about so positively, because there's such a negative connotation has been attached to it. And that had to happen. The scales had to tilt for us to actually wake up and talk about it first. So people had to come out and say, I am really suffering. No one's listening. And, you know, I need help. And I admire all the women who have had that voice to make the menopause a word that we're not afraid to see, that we're not afraid to talk about. But at the same time, it's essential that us as women who've gone through the menopause now speak into it and say, this is a beautiful phase of our lives. And, you know, we're the showcase now for younger women. And I remember being on your retreat, Saoirse, and one of the girls who was younger than Únagh and I saying, and Lila, saying how beautiful it was to see us showing up in this age, because their templates for older women were women who shrunk back, who shrunk away, and they weren't looking forward to this phase in life at all. So having these discussions with people of our age is so essential, that we show people that menopause is not a stopper. It's, you know, we also have to look at what we're eating. I found when I entered menopause, it's natural that we're going to have the empty nest maybe syndrome. We're going to have maybe a relationship issue, maybe a death of, you know, it's all that time when all these life things come together. And of course, that's going to have a change in our body. But in addition to the physical, but there's so much attention given to the physical body in menopause rather than all the other stuff. Like when women go to the doctor saying they have all this, you know, they're feeling like this, does a doctor say to them, what else is going on besides the menopause? What else is disturbing you? Like there could have been years of some sort of a relationship issue that's now manifesting because it's been going on for 10 years. So it's not just the hormonal changes, it's a lot of other emotional changes that are coming to the fore. And so I would say to women that it's a time to look inward. It's a time you've nurtured everybody. Now it's nurturing you. And that's what nature is telling us. Slow down, look inward. And aren't we blessed that we got this time to look inward and have this phase in our life to kind of embody our learning and wisdom and showcase it to other women. So I love it. I literally feel like I'm in my 20s again, where it's a clean slate. And now I have the wisdom to lean into that part of my life. Like I set up a new business at 50. I gave up my job in my 40s. I had a child who was ill, but I also had chosen to be with my family. It wasn't just because of the illness. I had already chosen before that happened to give that time to my children, which I want women to realize they have these choices, particularly now when we have educated women and our parents didn't educate us to be slaves and to be stressed constantly and worn out, as Únagh said. They educated us for choice. And women need to choose now at different phases in their life what's best for them and not feel it's over at 50. You do have another bite of the cherry. And that bite is often a lot sweeter because we don't have everything else. Like I call it, I don't have to look back anymore. When I had children and I was trying to work, I was looking back constantly because there was so much else going on behind me that I had to still look back for. Now I can go to work and I don't have to look back. And that is so, like, I can now give my work and this space 100% of me. I couldn't do that. I was compromised. I remember going into work. I was expressing maybe for a child. I was after leaving 2 other children, you know, who'd probably been up all night. And I remember going into work one day and sitting down and it was 9 o'clock and I was already tired. And I was like, what am I doing? My mother did not want this for me. My mother had grown up in a period where women didn't have the education or choices that we had. So I then made the choice that I was going to take a break. And it was difficult going back to work. I am saying that too. I'm not sugarcoating the choices I made, because when I went back to work, it was really difficult because I had that gap. But the menopause didn't stop me. That's what I want to say to people. The menopause didn't stop me. My head stopped me, my own self-sabotage. I'm not good enough. All of those things stop you. And society also, because you feel a bit more invisible, you're not as sexy looking, you know, because it's on the physical. So society, it's society and the way we've been conditioned that stops us. So put the work into yourself, and sometimes that thing, whether it's a relationship implosion or something, is the wake-up call to tell you, work on yourself, explore yourself. And that's like exploring your mind as well as your body during menopause. So I would invite people to slow down. Don't run away from that body telling you what to do. We run away from it because we still want to be 30. Who wants to be 30? You know, it's like all this anti-aging. We're to inject our bodies to look better. Embrace the wrinkles, embrace all of those. They are the signs of your experience. Every one of those is telling a story about your experience. Now, when I went back to work, again, as I said, I gave my CV to numerous people, and it was like as if they didn't see me because they didn't know where to set, where to put me, So I would also say to women, if you do decide to take that break, constantly be uplifting, upgrading yourself. And that doesn't mean you need to be upgrading yourself academically. It means you upgrade yourself in this area, in this space, with women, with empowering yourself emotionally, because we didn't get that emotional quotient. You know what I mean? We got a lot of education, but not in this space. But I'm trying to stick to the menopause really, but I say the most embarrassing parts for the menopause for me were, and this is important, like it's going to the doctor to tell them that you may still be in a relationship, you're on that verge of menopause, so obviously you don't want to get pregnant, you're looking for birth control, and you're still looking at the doctor as if he is judging you, which they're not judging you. But it's because we've been conditioned to say it's over at 50, when it's actually only beginning, because now we're so free. We, as you say, lovely, Lila, the way you put it, that it goes from here to here, and that we become the best lovers. We become because we're now doing it from a different space completely. And what else have I to say? The brain fog. I was fortunate. Like, I don't remember those parts of it so badly. I would say weight gain was an issue, but I then went vegan, and I didn't do that to lose weight or because of the menopause. I did it just because it was COVID, and I thought this would be a nice, interesting thing to do. But definitely my diet changed the game as well. And so we have to look at what we're eating during that change in our 50s. And, it's different for everybody. I'm not saying everybody has to do what I did, but I'd say look at your own diet, look at what you're doing and see how that impacts you. And exercise. I'm now going to the gym. I couldn't go to the gym in my 30s or my 40s. I have time to do it. Like if I got where do you find the time for all of this stuff? So I'm now going to the gym, and like that's essential that we, give ourselves that time as well to build the muscle, keep ourselves healthy. So all I'd say is embrace the phase you're in. It's like somebody said, it's like a house. We're on different tiers, You're on the first floor, the second floor, the third floor. Whatever floor you're on, be in that floor. Don't be wishing you're in a different floor. Enjoy the floor you're on.
Yes, I love that. And it's a leveling up, isn't it? It's a leveling up, constantly moving up in the levels and moving up in the I guess, initiations. So, and that is an interesting one, what you said there. I think it's a huge point that, people my age need to hear more of, because so many women in my generation are now filling themselves full of Botox, of fillers, of, all of these things that are available to them to keep them young, rather than embracing the saging and the aging process and really allowing themselves to move into that phase of their life and see their laughter lines and celebrate them, rather than shame themselves and feel like they need to hide them again. And it really does make me sad that everybody's trying to just look the same and stay young, and so many women in my, I don't know what they're going to be like in 20 years time. It can't be sustainable, and it scares me for them that they feel like they need to do that to stay up to society standards, and that's it, Sheila. Again, it's about looking inward. It's about leaning into the healing, to the shame, to the asking the questions about why do I feel the need to do that. So that's why these conversations are so important to have, to start getting people to just be curious about it and to question it and to think that there might be another way and that it actually could pay off even way better, and to really look at all the different phases of your rites of passage through your life. It's big work, it's deep work, but it's so beneficial because then we get to see the pattern that's been playing out and we get to disrupt that pattern and take our power back and start living in a way that is more true. Go on, Lila, what are you going to say, love?
It's just, I'm reminded of my own journey, which I could say there was uncertainty, your knowings changed in your body, menopausal, and also self-doubt of like, where do I fit, and self-judgment. And what I got through in a totally surprised place that I didn't expect it was when I was invited to dance with Aboriginal women who meet in the centre of Australia, law and culture, they call it, a couple of hundred women. And it's not as a group, it's not you're paid for. They can just say, oh, I think it's time you come along, sis. I've been to several of these. And the last one I went to maybe 7, 8 years ago was one where I'd flown out instead of just being on country. And I was walking around saying, where's my camp now? Connecting if anyone from a tribe to sit with. And people were lifting down boxes from a truck that arrived from the supermarket, bringing the supplies in. And I stood in line to receive the boxes, take them to the kitchen. And they sort of ignored me, took it over me. You really know it. Oh, this is not where I'm needed. I went to the kitchen and I said, can I help? Can I chop carrots? And they said, no. And it was like, I felt a bit put out. I hadn't experienced that sort of feeling before. And then I saw people gathering wood and I said, that's what I need to do. Walk along, get grounded, come off a plane, you know, like after driving 3 hours into incredible country, I will pick up some wood. And there were some women there, but I wasn't being included. I could feel it very clearly. And then I stood and I felt all my, where is my place, my not belonging, not just because of age and time and place, but culturally, historically, where do I belong? Who am I now? And a little old lady who'd been watching it, she wasn't so old, she must have been 40, 50 at the most. And she waddles over, toothless grin, and smiles at me and says, you come sit with the old girls now. We take care of you. You just sit and sing up our healing. And she took me to the old girls. And I looked and it was like, they were happy. They were wrinkled. They were cackling. They didn't do the chopping of carrots anymore. And when she looked at me and said, we take care of you, you sit and sing up our healing. There was a sense of knowing, honoring that that's the role of the grandmothers. And when we have the 13 grandmothers around the world, and some of those I've met, and they're amazing, sitting in their fullness of being. And a woman who's the Asian Human Rights Commission and I met her in India at the World Social Forum. And they're sitting there and they're sitting back in the fullness of their being, the fullness of the wine that they've lived in. And they know they have been honoured. That honouring is a bit missing in Australian society. You're a bit off the radar at certain points at 50, 60. But somehow this is the remembrance to take us from that, to bring me out of my unworthiness. Shadows, we've all got shadows. They come and go. But to really feel honoured. And then I got it when I came back from overseas, this journey with Jane Harwood Collins, who I believe is coming on here, wonderful woman, midwife and passages. She saw me outside the Civic and she said, oh, hello, how are you? We'd met in a circle 10 years ago at other ends of the temple, feeling that we were holding something. And she said, will you come on Monday? And it was an honouring of the crones. And she did a crowning ceremony for me with flowers in the circle with 60 other women come from everywhere. So beautiful. And although I'd facilitated some of those things, the crowning, we call it, to a couple of friends in the past, to sit there from this one, getting even older, to receive. And from that place, it was like I felt I was able to receive, which I wasn't, first of all, when I moved into this age postmenopausal. I sat there and received, and there were tears of joy. and welcoming and nourishing love. And I feel keep that in mind as you go through it, because it is an uncertainty. You don't know with your bleeding, it always, you sort of know where you are and why your moods were happening. And it's a different feeling. You're navigating from the center of your being, not just your creation zone at the bottom. You're navigating from who you truly are, if you use it wisely. And in that way, I feel, let us create that container for support in our transitions from, the maiden to the mother to the crone. And when we do that, it's like the tree of life is well held. And take care of the Mother Earth. She's our mother. She's given us birth, and the mother takes care of you. And the last thing I wanted to say was the remembrance from this council where Amma, the hugging saint, came in. And I'd actually heard it first of all when I traveled with her in Sri Lanka after the tsunami, when someone came to her and said, "Mother, mother, thank you for your compassion." And she said it, and then again we spoke it at this council of making way for the feminine. My compassion, not mine. Mother's compassion needs to arise in every human being on the planet right now. This is not a gender issue, but those that have it, may they be supported in the radiance of the wisdom that's curated in the temple body of your own sweetheart. That's me at the end, that bit. But in that space, honoring the wisdom that is curated. If we come aligned, the work we do for our souls works 7 generations forward, 7 generations back. So in this one, what you're doing now is sowing the seeds for healing, not just for us individually, but our lineage and for our daughters who will not have to go through such a challenging place that we do. Bless you all.
Yeah, I love that. And I just want to honor my mother, Mary Creed, who I am so grateful I wasn't born to a patriarchal mother who, she was very much in her power, and she very much gave me, she didn't initiate me, so to speak, into rites of passage. But, I think when rites of passage happen in our lives, and it's what was said or what wasn't said that can shame us and make us shut down or shut off. But she was always very supportive of me and very open and honest and, loving. And I feel like that gives me the ability to face my rites of passage in a much more empowered way, so that I do trust that now I'm passing that on to my daughter by birthing her powerfully and peacefully. She, gets a good start in life, and we can continue to be chain makers rather than cycle breakers. So I love that, and I just love the honoring of the mother. And also in the perimenopause phase, like it is like a birth. It's a birth of your true new self, and we get to be honored like that. And if we could just honor the women in all of the phases of her life, but have that support there for her to hold her even through the wobbly death and rebirth cycles of becoming that we constantly navigate, and just have that support structures in place for our sisters, for each other, to be able to lean on one another and be able to be held and seen and nurtured. It's so important. And that's why I'm so proud of this circle of women that we have called in. And, that's what we do for each other. And that's what we need to continue to advocate for everybody to feel that love and support. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful. Well, I feel like we've said and dropped so many beautiful truth bombs and love bombs. Does anybody have anything they want to share before we wrap it up?
I would just say, if I was just thinking what would be the one piece, I would say, and that is to surround yourself with women who inspire you. Look for, whatever phase in life, and particularly, entering perimenopause and becoming menopausal, look for the women that resonate with what you believe could be true rather than what society tells us. Look for the books that dare to speak of it in a different way, because so much of what we're told is upside down. And there's so much out there in the medical world, and then just there's so many things that is not the truth of what this phase is. So there are incredible women out there who are shining bright in the truth of it. And so search them out, search the books, fill your cup with wisdom that nourishes all women into this most incredible phase. It's fucking amazing. It really is, this phase.
Bless you, darling.
I love it.
And this is the book
I love
everybody
seeing
needs
this
to read.
joy.
Yes.
The book Rebel Ma, Healing in the Time of the Feminine, Women's Stories of Liberation, is where you will find Sheila and Únagh's stories. And Lila, you'll be in the next one for sure. So
Yes.
if anybody who hasn't bought that book yet, definitely put that on your list of things to do, because it's got so much wisdom to shine for you. And yeah, I love it. Sheila, have you got any last parting words for us?
Yeah, I would just say it's a real time to listen to your intuition, because maybe in your 30s, 40s, you doubted your intuition because of all the noise around you. And this is a time when fucking go with your intuition. It's going to guide you so well. And I think we get braver to do that and more confident because we have less distraction. And there is never too late to know who you want to become. Not to say, this is a phase where you can become who you want to. And really, I'm just so delighted that it's like a shell. I can't describe it really. It's like you were in a shell and you break the shell but that is really coming back to who you really were. And it's nothing worse. And I think menopause, brings all that questioning to us, but break free during this time. And that it doesn't mean going wild, even though it's, the wise woman, but it's about really your intuition is so powerful.
Yeah, and apparently it's like scientific too, the changes in the woman, like the two of the main hormones for reproduction, they actually change their roles within our bodies. And it's like the ones that are usually used for menstruation, they become neurotransmitters on the right side of the brain. And it activates our intuition and it increases our visionary capacity. So that's the power of this time when we embrace it naturally. And that's why society is starting to drug it and suppress it. And we get to really ask the questions there for any woman. I'm not saying every woman has a different experience and it's their choice and whatever they need, but to just ask the questions, to get curious, to don't just accept that as a solution. Because as Jane Hardwick Collins says, it's not a disease and there's no diagnosis. So therefore there isn't any kind of like symptoms or, antidote to it, except going inwards and learning from it and growing with it into who you are born to be. So yeah, that's my little tuppence work. Thank you, girls and ladies and wise women and elders and beautiful sisters. I'm so honored to have shared this space with you and to continue to dance on this journey of life with you. So thank you for trusting in me and holding the space today, and trusting in me and saying yes to all the crazy ideas that I have, because it would be nothing without you all.
Always, Saoirse. Thank you for the massive work you do for all of this. Thank you.
Yes.
All I'll say is share all of these beautiful lessons with all of your groups to anyone who's listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Share
Gracias.
for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias, amore.